Rival Signing Day show. This is Adam Gorney here with Cameron Andersen from Burley, Idaho, better known as Gatlin Bair's head coach. Come on, we all know what you do. Uh,
I'm fine with
Cameron, just talk about Gatlin as a player and as a person, and just how special he's been to you guys over the last few years.
Yeah, he's a great example to all those around of what commitment and sacrifice is, and when you he has a better understanding of than most people I've coached of when you want to set a goal or if there's something you want to achieve, the amount of things that you have to do in order to get it, the amount of choices you have to make that include sacrificing, what's good now for what's good in the future, the determination it takes to go to workouts every day, to eat the right things, to make the right choices, to get the right grades in the classroom. And so for us to be able to have an on-site example of that and show as many generations as we can in this town that has a one-feeder school, so we know who our next kids are and can really demonstrate and show that. It's priceless to have a kid like that you can just show everyone, if you work this hard and you dedicate this much and you sacrifice a lot, you can achieve your goals, and here's a demonstration and a proof of it.
Walk me through how that works in Burley, because that's not a year-round place where you could train outside and do those kinds of things. How did he get so fast? When did you realize that he had that kind of a speed? And he's not just fast for Idaho kids, he's fast for anybody.
Yeah, he's super fast. I would say it starts with his parents. Brad and Shay were both college track athletes. His two older brothers, one of them is at Mississippi State on a full ride track scholarship, and he just finished like first in the decathlon in the SEC, straight off his mission. The other's on his mission and is going to Arkansas on a full ride track scholarship. His little sister's a freshman. She's already got a 34.5-inch vertical as a freshman and running incredible times. One of the top rated track athletes in America in that age group for females. He started training when he was 5 years old. His dad started training with running, and as far as off season goes, you got to dedicate a lot. His father runs now our strength conditioning program, our speed program at the high school, and you'll see him any given day in the hallways of the school sprinting when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. So we got to get creative. We got to use the resource we can, and his father and mother are so good and adept at seeing student athletes and really maximizing who they are. And so when you look at the production of his entire family, you got to point to the stock that they came from and the lessons that his parents taught him.
What were the last few weeks like? Because tell me if I'm wrong, it seemed like after the decommitment from Boise that Michigan had taken the lead. There had obviously been some concerns there. Now Harbaugh leaves. How torn was he, and how did that all kind of play out as you two talked?
Yeah, I would say that that's all pretty accurate. I would say that there's one big difference in the recruitment. So Gatlin was committed to Boise State, and when he committed to Boise State, it was the right choice. There was many things in place, and with Andy Avalos there, and throughout his senior season, there were many factors that came into play for him as a student athlete that started to bring about questions to his commitment to Boise State. And then when Andy was let go, it was kind of like a situation where we felt it wasn't the same place he had committed to. It was down to Boise State and Michigan in the end. I would say it was 51-49. No one did anything to lose the commitment. It was just the choice that Gatlin needed to make that made it there. So obviously, when Gatlin decommitted from Boise State, Michigan was very, very high up. The one difference is Oregon never stopped. Like Michigan didn't stop recruiting him. The contact dwindled a little bit because Jim Harbaugh likes to respect the element of a commitment and that sort of thing. But Oregon never slowed down. And Lanning told me that when he committed to Boise State. Well, we want the kid. He's one of the biggest players on our board, and we're not going to stop until he's signed. And I would say that tracks dead on. They really focused not on others, but on what Oregon could do for Gatlin. And they closed the gap in a hurry. And then it was very 50-50 with Oregon and Michigan. The Oregon coaches would visit, and it was like, man, that's got to be the place where he goes. And then the Michigan coaches would visit, and then it's like, man, that's got to be the place where he goes. if you understand and know Gatlin, he has a very keen ability to be very aware of the surroundings and what he really wants. He already knows he's going to be a kinesthesiology major. He has a great understanding of the human body, how it trains, the food that you put into it. He studies that already. He gets that also from his parents, and so he had a really tight relationship with Ben Herbert, the strength coach at Michigan. And I would say when we left the Ohio State-Michigan game, we met with Coach Harbaugh the next day, and he was very open with the fact that he was going to be interviewing with the NFL. And so it wasn't a surprise. And Gatlin kind of approached the commitment from that point as Harbaugh wasn't going to be there. And that's one of the reasons he took his time and patience, was to see when or if Harbaugh left, what the steps were to follow and how they could develop him. And Oregon has stayed consistent and steady. They really earned the spot that they achieved with Gatlin. And I would say that in the last coming weeks, it just became really, really clear that the fit for Gatlin, that when we kind of pivoted a little bit, and Gatlin approached it not as who's there, but what's the best fit for me. And I would say that all of us in the room agreed that Oregon was the best fit, and we stayed out of it. Gatlin made that choice on his own, and we all believe it was a very good choice.
How closely were you guys watching the Alabama opening, which was sort of unexpected when Nick Saban retired, and then Dan Lanning turns it down? How big was that for you guys?
Yeah, I would say that 100% when Saban retired, I remember the moment I got the text and I sent it to Gatlin, and and he replied back something like, "Well, I guess we'll find out." And because Dan has been very, very adamant with, there's not another job. This is the job. The way his contract is structured is that it's an incredible buyout that he would have to pay, and he wanted that on purpose. It's a long-term contract that locks him in there. He really sees Oregon as a national brand, and there was only a couple places, not including the NFL, that really could take his career to the higher points than Oregon has. And he very, very rapidly declined that. And I think that meant a lot to Gatlin, because what people don't understand is that a lot of people are in the recruiting process looking for what's best for them, especially next year. What do we know about next year? For Gatlin, it's, will it all be in place in 2 years because of his missions? So I really feel comfortable, and Gatlin and his family really, really felt comfortable with the long-term situation at Oregon.
Now that he's picked Oregon over Michigan, does he revisit running track in college, because that had not been part of the factor, or is he kind of just going to focus on football?
I think the intent is to focus on football, with the understanding that he could run track almost professionally, maybe not as an Oregon athlete, but yeah. I mean, he ran a 10.15 on one of the worst tracks I've ever seen. The Idaho State track was put on not the track it's supposed to be on. It was just a high school track. It had cracks in it. It was a bad surface. If he was on a good surface, he was going to put down a number at that meet that was even lower. I'm 100% certain of it. He's 100% certain of it. So he does crazy things every day. We have him electronically timed at a 4.2340. He's really, really fast, and he's got God-given talents that it's hard to prevent the application of running track, really, because he could do special things in there too. So I think that the plan, I mean, everything we know is the plan is to be a football player and not let track interrupt that. But if there's an application where in the offseason he can do some track events, then I could see that happening in the future.
All right. That is Gatlin Bair's high school coach, Cameron Andersen. Cameron, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you guys.